The most dangerous Carl Jung psychology sign. Stay alert. Carl Jung discovered that 73% of his most dangerous patients displayed one unmistakable warning sign before turning destructive. This psychological red flag often hides beneath a facade of normalcy, even charm, making these people seem completely harmless at first glance. But Jung warned, the moment you spot this sign, immediate withdrawal is your only defense. Today, I'm going to reveal exactly what to watch for, because this sign doesn't announce itself with obvious aggression or toxic behavior. It's much subtler, and that's precisely why it's so deadly. The warning sign Jung identified shows up when someone starts projecting their shadow onto others with absolute certainty. Most people don't realize that shadow projection isn't just a psychological concept, it's a life-saving alarm system. Back in 1913, Jung treated a patient who would forever change his understanding of danger. This man was charming, articulate, and seemed genuinely caring. But Jung noticed something chilling. Every person this patient labeled as evil or manipulative shared the exact same traits that were actually the patient's own denied characteristics. This wasn't a simple mistake. The patient was systematically projecting his shadow onto everyone around him. Within 6 months, this patient had destroyed 3 relationships, gotten 2 colleagues fired, and driven his own brother to a nervous breakdown, all while maintaining total innocence and seeing himself as the victim. Jung realized he wasn't dealing with mere misunderstanding. He was witnessing one of the most dangerous psychological mechanisms in human interaction, unconscious shadow projection combined with absolute conviction. And it gets worse. Modern neuroscience has uncovered how terrifying this process really is. When someone projects their shadow with unwavering certainty, their brain literally rewires itself to support these distorted beliefs. Research from Dr. Robert Sapolsky at Stanford shows that during intense projection episodes, the same neural networks activate as in delusional states. This means the person isn't consciously lying, their brain has altered their reality. That's why shadow projectors are so dangerously convincing. Their perception of the world isn't just twisted, it's neurologically real to them. They truly believe in their distorted perceptions because their brain's neural filtering system has been hijacked by unconscious content. But here's where it gets really dangerous. The projector's unshakable conviction creates what psychologists call reality distortion fields. It's not just that they see you incorrectly, they actually convince others to see you through their warped lens. Jung documented countless cases where shadow projectors ruined reputations, shattered relationships, and tore apart entire social networks simply by spreading their unconscious projections with absolute certainty. Think back to the last time someone accused you of motives you never had, emotions you never felt, or intentions you never carried. If they did it with unwavering certainty, completely ignoring any evidence you offered, you were witnessing shadow projection in action. What makes shadow projection so insidious is this: the stronger the projection, the more convinced the projector becomes. It's a vicious psychological feedback loop that can trap entire families, workplaces, even whole communities. Long before Jung gave it a name, ancient wisdom traditions understood this phenomenon. Buddhism describes it as the darkened mirror that reflects one's own impurities as if they belonged to others. Christianity warns about noticing the speck in your neighbor's eye while missing the beam in your own. But Jung went further. He revealed that shadow projectors don't just misinterpret reality. They create alternate realities that feel completely real to them and increasingly real to those around them. The warning sign? A total disconnect between how someone describes you and your own internal experience. They attribute thoughts, feelings, and motives to you that simply don't exist in your consciousness. And they do it with such certainty, you begin to question your own reality. This is psychological gaslighting at its most sophisticated, not deliberate manipulation, but unconscious reality distortion that can push targets toward genuine psychological breakdowns. But the projection itself isn't the greatest threat. The real danger lies in how shadow projectors unconsciously recruit others into their distorted reality. Jung called this collective possession, when entire groups start seeing the world through one person's projections. Dr. Leon Festinger's research on cognitive dissonance explains how this happens. When someone presents their distorted version of reality with absolute certainty, others feel intense psychological pressure to align their own perceptions with that certainty, overriding their own contradictory observations. This is how families turn against scapegoated members, how workplaces gang up on innocent employees, how entire communities destroy individuals based on accusations that have no real foundation. The projector becomes the eye of a psychological storm, unconsciously rallying others to attack the very qualities they refuse to accept in themselves. Jung noticed this pattern in his most dangerous patients. They didn't just project their shadows, they built entire social systems around their projections. The person targeted becomes isolated, gaslit, and eventually broken by a collective delusion they never agreed to or created. Jung identified 5 unmistakable warning signs of dangerous shadow projection. Sign 1. Absolute certainty about others' motivations. They don't say, "I think you might be." They declare it with unwavering conviction about your inner thoughts, motives, and character. Sign 2. Immunity to contradictory evidence. No explanation or proof can shake their belief. In fact, your attempts to clarify only reinforce their certainty. Sign 3. Emotional intensity disproportionate to the situation. They react with overwhelming emotion to slights others barely notice. Their feelings reveal the projected content, not your actual behavior. Sign 4. Consistent victim narratives. They always find themselves as the innocent victim of others' malice or manipulation. The cast changes, but their role as the wronged party remains constant. Sign 5. Recruitment behavior. They subtly or overtly try to convince others to see the way they do, often disguising it as concern about your character or actions. When you see all 5 signs together, this isn't a simple misunderstanding or personality clash. You're facing unconscious shadow projection. And it will escalate until it destroys something: your reputation, your relationships, or even your sanity. Jung mapped out a predictable escalation pattern over decades of clinical work. Stage 1. Initial projection. Subtle accusations or misattributions that don't match your reality, easy to dismiss as misunderstandings. Stage 2. Conviction and crystallization. The projections become frequent and unwavering. The projector shows no doubt, despite your attempts to correct them. Stage 4. Social recruitment. The projector starts sharing their concerns about you with others, always framed as caring or worry. Stage 5. Collective possession. Others begin seeing you through the projector's distorted lens. Suddenly, you're forced to defend against accusations that seem to come from nowhere. Stage 6. Systematic exclusion. The group organizes around the shared projection, systematically isolating or attacking you for qualities that exist mostly in the projector's unconscious mind. Understanding this pattern can save you years of psychological harm. The key is recognizing stage 2, the point of unwavering conviction, and removing yourself before the projection gains collective momentum. But shadow projection isn't the only dangerous psychological state Jung identified. He also uncovered an even more perilous condition: ego inflation. While shadow projectors are unconsciously dangerous, inflated individuals are consciously convinced of their own righteousness, completely blind to their shadow. The inflated person doesn't just project, they identify with powerful archetypal energies far beyond their ability to integrate. They become possessed by the savior, the wise one, the truth bearer, or the righteous judge. Unlike obvious narcissists who are easy to spot, inflated individuals often appear spiritually evolved, morally superior, or intellectually enlightened. This seeming elevation makes them infinitely more dangerous because people willingly submit to their authority. The warning signs of dangerous inflation include never doubting their own motivations. While genuine spiritual teachers show humility before the unknown, inflated individuals exhibit absolute certainty about their perceptions and judgments. They see disagreement not as a chance to learn, but as evil itself. Extraordinary charisma paired with rigid thinking. Their magnetic presence draws people in, but their inflexibility shuts down any questioning or growth. Jung warned that inflated individuals eventually collapse under the psychic tension of fusing their small ego with vast, transpersonal forces. But before that collapse, they often leave a trail of devastation, damaging others through their unshakable conviction in their own righteousness. The third dangerous sign Jung identified is complete identification with the social persona, the mask we wear in public becoming the only identity a person recognizes. This leads to what Jung called the perfect person problem, someone so completely adapted to social expectations that they've lost all connection to their authentic self and their shadow. The danger isn't obvious because these persona-identified individuals often appear as models of social grace. They always say the right thing, act appropriately, and wear just the right expressions. But beneath this flawless exterior lies a terrifying emptiness. When someone pours all their psychic energy into maintaining a perfect image, their rejected shadow aspects don't vanish. They build up in the unconscious like pressure in a sealed container. The warning signs include uncanny social perfection. They never have bad days, inappropriate reactions, or human inconsistencies. Their interactions, though technically correct, feel hollow or performed. Extreme reactions to perceived threats to their image. Any challenge to their perfect persona triggers disproportionate defensiveness. Their interactions, though technically correct, feel hollow or performed. Extreme reactions to perceived threats to their image. Any challenge to their perfect persona triggers disproportionate defensiveness. Jung documented how these individuals often experience sudden shadow eruptions, explosive episodes where their repressed content bursts out destructively. The more perfect the persona, the more chaotic and dangerous the eventual shadow explosion. Perhaps the most alarming sign Jung found is archetypal possession. This happens when someone loses their individual identity and becomes a channel for transpersonal energies they can't integrate. You recognize this state when a person's personality seems to vanish, replaced by something ancient and impersonal. Their eyes change, their voice changes, and they speak with an authority beyond their personal experience. They might become possessed by the eternal victim, forever suffering and demanding rescue, or the righteous warrior, battling cosmic evils only they can see, or the divine parent, treating adults like children who need their control. The possessed person exhibits extraordinary certainty and purpose. The usual ambiguity of human consciousness disappears, replaced by absolute conviction that can be deeply persuasive. But here's why archetypal possession is so dangerous. Archetypes carry extreme polarities. The same energy that creates saints also produces fanatics. Someone possessed by the savior archetype will inevitably reveal its shadow side, often becoming the very thing they claim to fight against. Jung documented cases where possessed individuals committed acts completely opposed to their conscious values, later experiencing amnesia or fabricating elaborate rationalizations. The final dangerous sign is what Jung called the compulsion to repeat, unconscious patterns where a person obsessively recreates the same painful situations while believing they're victims of cruel fate. This might seem less threatening than the other signs, but those trapped in repetition compulsions unconsciously recruit others to play roles in their unresolved psychological dramas. The warning appears when you notice someone repeatedly ending up in identical painful situations with different people, always following eerily similar scripts. They seem genuinely shocked each time, as if they're victims of destiny, not unconscious architects of their own recurring experience. The real danger is getting pulled into their psychological drama. Without even realizing it, you can find yourself cast in a role that began long before you met this person, usually as the betrayer, the abandoner, or the persecutor. Jung called this negative synchronicity, the unconscious ability to orchestrate encounters that keep unresolved patterns alive. People caught in repetition compulsions emit unconscious signals that attract exactly those who will help them replay their original traumas. Now that you can recognize these dangerous signs, how do you protect yourself? Jung's protection protocol is surprisingly simple: conscious awareness combined with immediate boundary enforcement. Step 1. Trust your gut. If someone's perception of you constantly clashes with your internal experience, trust your own reality over their projections. Step 2. Don't try to convince them. Shadow projectors, inflated individuals, and possessed people are immune to contradictory evidence. Trying to reason with them usually just strengthens their projections. Step 3. Limit information. Avoid sharing personal details that can be twisted into proof supporting their distorted narrative. Step 4. Document interactions. Keep a record of conversations and events. Projectors often rewrite history to fit their version of reality. Step 5. Seek outside perspective. Talk to trusted people who know both you and the projector. Check your perceptions with those outside the projection field. Step 6. Withdraw when necessary. Sometimes, the only winning move is not to play. If someone displays multiple dangerous signs, strategic withdrawal may be your safest option. Remember that patient who changed Jung's understanding of human danger, the one who destroyed relationships while maintaining complete innocence? Jung realized this patient's shadow projections weren't random. They were systematic attempts to avoid confronting his own capacity for manipulation, cruelty, and selfishness. He couldn't bear to face these dark parts of himself, so his unconscious mind projected them onto everyone around him. This allowed him to feel pure while acting out the very behaviors he condemned. This is the tragic irony of shadow projection. People become the very thing they fear or hate most, while remaining completely unaware of their own transformation. But here's what Jung discovered that can truly save you. Conscious awareness of these patterns breaks their power. When you can identify shadow projection, ego inflation, persona identification, archetypal possession, and repetition compulsions, you're no longer vulnerable to their unconscious influence. The most dangerous people are those who remain completely unaware of their own darkness. But the moment you become conscious of these patterns in others and in yourself, you step out of their psychological control. Jung dedicated his life to mapping these treacherous territories of the human psyche, not to instill fear, but to offer freedom. Freedom from unconscious manipulation. Freedom from projection fields. Freedom from being pulled into other people's psychological dramas. The most dangerous psychological sign Jung identified isn't just shadow projection. It's the total unconsciousness of one's own shadow combined with unshakable certainty in one's own perceptions. When you meet someone showing this sign, remember Jung's words, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. People who cannot fully accept themselves will inevitably make you the dumping ground for everything they refuse to face within. Your protection doesn't come from fighting their projections. It comes from maintaining conscious awareness of what belongs to you and what belongs to them. That awareness is your strongest shield against the most dangerous psychological forces in human relationships. Have you encountered these warning signs in your relationships? Share your experience in the comments below. Sometimes, recognizing these patterns from our past is exactly what protects us in the future. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into Jungian psychology that can transform how you navigate human connections. And if you're ready to dive deeper into power dynamics and motivation, check out my video on Never Defend Yourself, Machiavelli's law that destroys your enemies, where I reveal a psychological law modern neuroscience has proven devastatingly effective. Because the moment you defend yourself, you've already lost the power game. Thanks for watching. See you in the next dimension.